All right, so go ahead.
Where did I drop?
You didn't grow up with watching movies and everything because of your programming, and then one day.
Yeah, I don't have time for fiction, and I watch the news, and and then when I realized that everything in the news was a lie, and started watching a couple movies people told me I should, and I realized, holy crap,
Yeah.
that's the truth, and yeah, so I've definitely seen what you just said, but also not only just in movies, but like fairy tales or archetypes,
Yeah.
like Peter Pan or the Pan spirit. Like, in fact, I don't want to give too many details, but I live in a community and I have done exactly what you said. It came to me in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what you said, but not with movies and with these other mythical characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I shit you not, every single thing is turning out exactly like those mythical stories or fairy tale stories.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's all around us.
It's amazing. I'm so I'm blown away that we have come to such similar realizations in our own paths without. This is the first time I've ever spoken to you in my life.
Yeah, well, not really, but
Well, physically, right? Like speaking with words, and
yeah.
we've never spoken before.
Yeah, but it's like most of this shit we don't even have to preface.
Yeah, no, it's awesome though that wow, I'm really glad to meet someone on the same path that I can just be real and share. And somebody can understand, and I understand you. It's crazy.
See the whole thing with the downloaded content, like the serial, is it tells you, right in the prologue, and so many people have gotten a hold of me about that thing, about that serial. Like, oh, you have such a vivid imagination. Ha ha ha. Homeless people.
Is that what they say? Dude, yeah. I knew it was real when first time I read it. I'm like, okay, all right, this guy knows what's up.
Yeah.
My other friend in Minnesota, Virgo, and because I've kind of helped, whatever. Realize some things, and I'm like, dude, we were talking about something similar. I'm like, you have got to read this, and that's real. I know it's real because I've experienced it,
Mm-hmm. And but there are so many people who are like, dude, you have such a vivid imagination. Now, I do have to change names due to lawsuits, but it's, for the most part, that's the shit that happens. And I'm, like the prologue says, when the author of the story is like, what the fuck you want me to do here? Blog about this shit? You think people are really going to believe me if I get on the internet and relay information?
No, you can't. You tell it as a true story and you're crazy like me. If you write it in a fiction book, then
you're a genius.
Yep.
Yeah. So so that's what that's what it is. But getting back to the old guy there, when he taught me, the path of Christ, the true Christ, the inner Christ, okay?
Right, so then,
yeah, when he taught me that path, he goes, look, just all you got to do is recreate the story of Christ in your own way. Do a reboot. That's all you got to do, man. And that's really what everybody has to do, is to reboot, to do an updated version of Christ or whoever your savior figure is outside of you. You got all these Christians wearing WWJD on their fucking bracelet, but they don't do what Jesus would really do.
Exactly.
So he taught me that, and getting to the Grim Reaper thing is this particular place where I've met this guy, and it's in the story. So you you'll come across it. You'll know exactly who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Is I firmly believe that it's on a ley line, but it's certainly on some type of an energy point that where the veil between realities is extremely thin.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a bus stop for extra dimensional beings. Is the best way I can describe it.
I gotcha.
Time slows down to a tangible thing in this
Gotcha.
place. A lot of aware entities, but a lot of unaware intermingling there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very obvious to those with their third eye open or their chakras work, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah,
Enlightened people.
You can see.
Yeah, crazy folks, man, whatever.
Crazy bugs. I like that.
Yeah, it's obvious that this is like a hub for us. And so, some people walk in and immediately I feel the vibration of just darkness, negativity. And this gentleman looks at me and he said, "Some go up and some go down, son." And I remember looking at him like, what are you talking about? And without words, he expressed to me, my favorite band is Radiohead. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Okay, they got a song called Karma Police, right?
Oh.
And the lyrics really are kind of deceitful, but whenever I hear the title, I think of a legion of entities that are the Karma Police. You know what I mean? That's just kind of what it evokes. And what this guy was explaining to me without words, or with just a few words, was, welcome to the Karma Police. There are people out there who are going through a rough time and they deserve to evolve and reincarnate into a higher consciousness. And then there are some shitholes out there who need to go down and figure it out, And just the tome of the Grim Reaper popped in my head. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was funny that you mentioned that, because it was almost like this guy was saying, and you're right, death seems to follow me around all the time.
But it's not a bad thing, though. I realize that the blessing that I was, I used to think I'm cursed because everybody comes to my doorstep to die.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that was when I feared death and this and that. But then I realized it's a blessing. They want a safe, warm, nurturing, place to transition.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched their spirits pop out. I literally, and in fact, one time a friend was visiting from Pennsylvania and he actually saw it too.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no death,
Mm-mm.
really. It's physical, but the spirit stays, Well,
I'll tell you, if you don't mind, I'll tell you another story that happened real recently. And, if you don't mind.
No, kidding? Okay. I love this. It's so nice to talk to a person with, on the same level. That's great.
All right, so I had like I said, I come from a big dysfunctional family in the South, so it is what it is. But anyway, I had a cousin, and when I was a little shit, I looked up to him like he was a god. You know what I mean? When you're young, you have these people in your life that are role models, and you look up to them, and you kind of mimic them when you're coming up, and you want to do things, you know what I mean?
Them.
Yeah, laugh at the same shit they laugh at, all this. So we were pretty close. I mean, and a lot of my personality, he had a huge part in crafting. He became a poet later. He was a shitty poet, and I don't think he'd mind if I say that, but and a philosopher, and these were things I was already naturally inclined to. But he started getting into that world too, and him and one of my brothers, we formed a group called the Last Renaissance. These young up-and-coming poets, as if that was going to be a fucking future career, poet.
That's funny.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that.
When I grow up.
yeah, I'm going to be a fucking beat poet. And we would bop around, the town next to me, this, poetry shops, and do poetry readings and smoke-filled coffee clubs and shit like that with spotlights. And that was our Led Zeppelin days, you know what I mean? Fucking, that was it. Be a young philosopher, writer, and just experiencing life. And as we went through our teenage years, shit happens, and then you start going at each other's throats. It's usually over a woman. you know. So it was a love-hate. It was like a love-hate relationship between him and myself. You know what I mean? Either we were always at each other's throats, or we were thick as thieves, one or the other. So he led a pretty riotous life, much more than I've led, and his body took a toll. In the last, here recently anyway. And he already had diabetes, and then he had a couple of strokes, and then he had a heart attack, and he'd been on hospice for a while, right? And so he was at home at hospice for a few months, and then the day after Christmas, I found out that he had passed. And, I didn't get a chance to go and see him in the physical, for a while. It had been a few months since I'd seen him. And so, but he passed, the day after Christmas, and had a traditional Jewish thing where he was cremated and all that. And, knowing the things that I know about there is no death, and I could still communicate with him, I closed my office, or my bardo, whatever you want to call it, and lit my candles, and commenced to do my type of magic, which is to communicate, and to have that experience, to be able to open the bridge and make a phone call, essentially, to go, hey dude, have you settled in over there, and have him respond back, right? So I did that. And then the next day I go to like Walmart for my meditation, right? Just to walk around and watch people. And I got sunglasses on and earbuds in, and I'm kind of in the don't talk to me mode. Just let me walk by. I don't really want to interact with anybody. I just want to walk around and, veg out for a minute, right?
Yeah.
And this young black guy comes up to me. He's like near electronics, and he's like a salesman for DirecTV or something. And he could see I'm listening to music. I don't want to be bothered, whatever. But he comes up to me and he's talking anyway. And me being, sensitive to the universe, I stop and I take my earphones off, and I'm like, yeah, can I help you? And he's like, yeah, I wanted to ask you, how much you got on your internet and your phone and your TV service. And I told him, and he stopped, and he kind of paused for a second. And he said, you know what? I ain't even going to mess with you. You got a good deal, and I ain't trying to, sell you something you don't need, because it's all about integrity, right? And I thought to myself, I know salespeople. You know what I mean? And I was like, this he really does have integrity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I walked around for a minute, and I'm like, okay, waiting for the universe to give me answers. I know I'm not done with this guy. What am I supposed to do with this guy? So when I just knew I was supposed to go back and talk to him more. You know what I'm saying? And so I went with my intuition, and I went back and I pulled him to the side. I said, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Yeah, what's up? And so I said, I don't even really know what the fuck I'm supposed to say to you, but listen, dude, how many sales have you made today? He's like, man, I hadn't made none. And, I just wanted to let you know, thank you, because I had made a smart remark. He asked me how I was doing. I said I was up writing mobile or whatever. So he said, you lifted my day up a little bit just by a little smile by what you said. You weren't rude to me or nothing like that. He said, so I appreciate that. I said, okay, well, look, here. And I got him to do this technique. It's a perception technique where you get a person to spin around, then close their eyes and visualize going all the way around. And then they go much, much further. And it's kind of to show people that they have power over matter through their mind. It's just a taste to what we are capable of, but it's enough to initiate somebody. And so he got it. It blew him away. And I said, now look, incorporate that into work. When you come to work every day, before you come to work, visualize making 1 billion sales. Genuinely good sales. Don't take advantage of people. Don't rip people off. Good sales. Save some motherfuckers some money when you come to work. Visualize that, okay? So he said, all right, thank you, right? So I was like, I walked away. And I said, okay, I did my good deed for the day. I gave that guy what he wanted, right? So I get in the truck, and I'm on the way home. And about halfway home, something tells me, no, you're not done with that guy. You're still not done with that guy. And I go, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I gave I taught the guy, a cool technique to use for his sales. And, when I left, there was a customer there, and it looked like he was going to close the sale. What else do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? I'm talking to myself in the fucking truck. You know what I mean? And then I get home, and I got all these books on my bookshelf about sales, marketing techniques, how to communicate with a customer, self-help shit like that for salespeople. And so I took all the books and like an audio seminar and threw it in a bag. I don't even know why the fuck I had these books. I had them. I guess at some point I said, I'm going to need these. You know what I mean? And so I put them in a bag and I carried them back up to Walmart and I took him to the guy. And the guy was like on cloud 9. This guy was jumping around, screaming at his coworkers with joy, right? And I walked up to the guy and he goes, "Oh my God, see?" And he started pointing to all of his coworkers at me. The guy does exist, right?
Yes.
And I had shades on, so I'm not making eye contact. I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, I was asking these guys because right after you left, I made like 1 or 2 sales. Right after you left, after you taught me that shit. And I was telling these guys about you telling me that stuff, and they said they didn't even see you in the store. Right?
Yeah.
And he said, "Look, man," he said, "I know what that means because I was telling these guys that you were an angel because they couldn't even see you, but here you are, right?" And I said, "Well, you know what the Bible says? It says, be careful when you entertain, strangers. You could be entertaining angels unaware. You never know who an angel is, right?" So I pulled the books out and I put them down and I gave them to him, and he almost started crying, because he was like, in one day his life changed with some stuff that I happen to know. I'm not patting myself on my shoulder or anything, but I'm just telling you where my spirit was. I didn't know this guy's story. For all I know, he's got kids at the house. He's trying to feed them. He's got a job, selling direct TV, and he's really trying to make ends meet. And I don't have money to give him. I don't have, food to give him, but I got knowledge, that I picked up somewhere along the, and then, as soon as he implements it, what does it do? It gives him a couple of sales so he can go and do whatever with that money. It's all
That's
energy.
what it's all about.
Yeah. So that's where my heart's at. And so then he looks at me, and this is where it gets crazy. So I'm not trying to overtalk you, but I gotta finish, man, because I'm a Virgo. Okay? And that's what we fucking do.
That's what we do.
We finish the story. So this guy, he's about to cry. He's got all these books. He's got some profound life-changing thing. He realizes that in some sense or another, I am an angel, right?
Yeah.
I went through the human school, and now I'm a messenger to other people, because that's what the word angel means, messenger.
Yeah.
An angle of light. That's it. Any human can become an angel in a heartbeat.
All are, yeah.
So I'm sitting here, and then all of a sudden that spiritual pride comes up. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm changing this motherfucker's life. I am so in my highest state right now. I am so one with God. I can see miracles happening. I am just fucking awesome. God is using me like a pen. It's rocking out, right?
A tree fell on your head. No?
Oh, yeah, right? Isn't that always the case?
You got bit by mosquitoes.
Yeah, right? So then he says, "Hey man," he says, he says, because I'd already told him, I said, look up downloadedcontent.com, in between visits with the guy. So he was already looking at my stuff. But he said, what's funny about this and you teaching me all this and just chance meeting, he said, is I'm actually a Baptist preacher. I used to be a gangbanger and a drug slinger, and now I'm a Baptist preacher. And you walked up in the store the first time wearing, it looked like homeless looking clothes. Cut up jeans, combat boots that's got cracks in them. You know what I mean? And then I show back up and I'm wearing like a suit jacket. He's like, you rolled up in here the first time like you weren't nobody, and then you give me this wisdom.
And that's why nobody saw you, by the way.
Exactly.
Yep. And that's
And
why I really love my life like this.
you can be invisible when you need to be.
I get to do that shit every day. That's my morning thing. I pray to be invisible from all parasites or anybody who would use force over another, and I ask God to put me where I need to be, where I can bless another.
Right. So when I showed back up, and I'm, now these guys can see me. Okay, I'm dressed a little nicer. Not that I just wear costumes. Clothes mean nothing to me.
Costumes.
I wear costumes appropriate to the play, man. I'll wear a suit where it needs to be worn or not, depending on what reaction I want from people. Okay. But anyway, so he tells me he's a Baptist preacher and that he preaches this type of stuff about faith and stuff like that on a weekly basis. And he said, until you showed up today, I never realized I didn't even really believe in it until you showed up. And I said, oh, that's awesome, man. He said, you know what though? And this is where it gets fucking freaky. He goes, you know what? He says, you got any people out of Macon? I said, you mean Macon, Georgia? Yeah, you got any people out of there? I said, not in this life, nobody that I claim anyway. And I wasn't really thinking, and he goes, you know who, you remind me of my best friend in high school. I said, yeah? He says, yeah, Jason Crumpton.
Oh, wow.
And I was fucking floored.
Dude, that gave me chills again. That's cool.
And I was like, holy shit. I said, as a matter of fact, James, because that was the cat's name, I said, as a matter of fact, James, that's my cousin / brother, because my mom and his mom were sisters, and my dad and his dad were sisters. So we would say we were brother cousins. Same, So I said, as a matter of fact, that's my cousin, and he crossed over the other day. And
that is so cool.
Yeah, and so I came home, and I was like sitting in front of my altar, because when things like that happen, I like to give it time to process.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, what the fuck just happened? Why did it happen? And it just came to me because, like I said, my cousin, he had lived a riotous life, and he had done a lot of harm in his life to a lot of people. He redeemed himself, but there were some debts that he didn't get to pay off in the physical. And it just came to me. I was like, oh my God, some way or another, my cousin owed this man something.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, and me never having seen this guy, what are the odds that in a completely different city, across, a sea of time, I would happen to run into this guy who was in need of my assistance with some piece of knowledge I had at that moment.
Yeah.
And then people have the audacity to call those who live our lives this way insane.
It's funny.
Because we're paranoid, right? But the definition of paranoid is to see connections that others cannot see otherwise. So I'm paranoid as fuck, because if you expect me to believe that was a, quote, coincidence, you're out of your mind. And this shit happens every single day to every single person.
Yeah.
And how many people actually pay attention to it?
Yeah, not many. But if you live a sheltered life, a lot of people are closed off to that, unfortunately. And they either, don't leave their house, or they're stuck in this job, and then they barely have enough time to eat before they go to sleep and have to get up and go do it again. And, although, yeah, it's sad that people feel that they're forced into the system, and they don't take time to let their dog walk them, for example, right? Like, it's funny, it cracks me up when people walk their dog, or whatever, or even when they're out walking, and they're like in a hurry, and oh, come on, we gotta hurry. It's like, wait a minute, if you let your dog walk you, and followed him or her or whatever, and took a minute to smell the flowers, so to speak, and look at the beauty around you, whether it's, and I like to display that in my photography, by the way. Like, I take pictures of lichen, or even mud puddles, or just super tiny things, macro shots, and just really to try to display the beauty in everything. Like, someone looks around and they see winter and everything's dead, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing all these finite details that or just these little macro universes, in every little piece of snow, for example. And, yeah.
Well, see, I like to live in my imagination, like when I was, I do, and like when I was a little kid and I'd see an ant farm, I would, I'm guilty. I used to play Godzilla, and fucking stomp their habitat and watch them run. You know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? And just do when you're a kid. And you're talking about Peter Pan. I've been accused, and I'm guilty as fucking charged, of having Peter Pan syndrome. The perpetual.
It's important to play, though.
Yeah.
And the imagination. I mean, look at the word. Magician. Think about that. I mean, isn't that where everybody's soul and expression comes from? If we take a minute to go there and spend time with ourselves, everybody's afraid. They need full-time distractions, whether it's football or movies or beer or shopping or gambling or, somebody else to entertain them some way. and yeah, get in that magician within you.
What's actually so funny about it?
Magician, play Godzilla. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right, and it, it's like the old saying, "I think, therefore I am." You know, and it, especially around little kids, I get along with kids because we speak the same fucking language.
Yeah.
It's like
little children, right?
Yeah, and I look at kids as oracles because they're still tapped in.
They are.
Their brains haven't been fucking shit on.
Our greatest teachers.
Yeah, our kids, and that's why Jesus was always talking to kids, and he was so protective of kids. He was like, these guys, they're still connected to the spiritual. They see way more than you think they fucking see. And any of you who hurt them, you better think twice about that shit. God, whatever God is, don't take too kindly to hurting the innocent. That's why those little black magic fuckers, man, God, they're like, but yeah. So it's like,
do you have children?
Do what?
Do you have children?
No, not of my own. I got a dog named Hannibal.
Nice.
But I mean, I don't have biological.
My children like other people do, and that's not an imaginary friend, here's this little pill, and like I always, like they remembered being born. Mm-hmm. I would always talk to them about that, or their dreams, or their imaginary friends. We would have like intuitive practices where they would read each other's minds. First they'd be sitting in each other, and then when they got it, then I would separate them in rooms, or then put one upstairs, one downstairs, and keep training them and getting them to trust their guiding spirit and intuition, their higher selves. And I tell you what, they're pretty amazing and different from other people that had that beat out of them. And I myself was one of them. Like, it was okay when I was in military projects, or if I was giving somebody the numbers for the races or whatever, working for somebody else. But if I wasn't under their confinement, then all of a sudden I was crazy, and these knowings weren't allowed. Mm-hmm. But my children, I shit you not, like literally stopped a blizzard. Mm-hmm. So people could get home safely, and not like, again, not by casting spells or directing force or anything, by asking permission and becoming one with that storm. And if it isn't absolutely necessary to happen right here at this second for the balance of nature, could we hold up a couple minutes so these people could get home safely, and shit like that at 8 years old.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and it's just so, I think we have a responsibility as parents to help our children know themselves rather than push ourselves and our desires onto them.
Right.
And yeah, just the whole everything that's going on, school, learning to follow the leader and shutting that out, and all of these distractions is, I'd like to see that come to an end. It's just a crime against humanity, really.
Okay, so I say I don't have kids, and I guess I haven't fathered any kids, but the kids have always gravitated towards me because of my childlike nature, and I can communicate with them through superheroes and video games and shit like that.
Yeah.
So they always gravitate towards me, and I don't mind getting down on the ground and playing with toys with them in their world. I don't find that that's demeaning. It's okay to get down in the mud and make mud pies sometimes when you're over 30. It's okay. Just chill the fuck out. It'll be all right.
People pay big money for mud baths. Think about that. But then all of a sudden it's not okay. Yeah.
So these two, my friend's two daughters, they're you could tell one of them's a Virgo, and she loves me to death, but she hates me to death because she knows I know all of her bullshit.
Yeah.
She knows that I'm aware. Man, you ain't really crying. You're faking, and I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to manipulate your Pisces mama over there.
That's hilarious.
You're gonna fool
Yep,
me,
that's
you know.
me.
So, so I communicate with her as if I'm communicating with my younger, mischievous self. I know my own tactics as a Virgo. And
What faker?
yeah, yeah. Things
That's
like
funny.
drama queen. This little girl hadn't passed a mirror ever that she hadn't paused at. You know, she's just so going to be an actress or a performer of some type. But anyway,
Oh wow! All right.
Their mom made the decision recently to pull them out of government school and homeschool. Okay, because
Good.
it's self-evident what's going on. But one day, me and the little one, or the oldest one, 6 years old, we were just casually talking or whatever, and the girl goes, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish school, and then I'm going to go to another school, and then I'm going to go to another school, and then I'm going to go to college, and then I'm going to get a job, and then I'm going to get married, and then I'm going to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, you're 6 years old. You've got, what the fuck? This is not you, okay? No 6-year-old in their natural thinking is going to be saying any of this short shit.
Yeah.
Okay? They're going to be like, oh, look, pony and unicorns and shit.
Exactly.
And I said, sweetheart, what? Wait, what? And so she repeated it. And I said, well, do you want to go to college? And she had like a deer in the headlights look. And I said, it's okay, you can answer. And then I was like, you don't even know what college is, do you? Not really, yeah. And she's a smart little girl. And I'm like, where did you hear this stuff? Because I know that you're not telling me this. And she was like, my teacher told me that's what I'm supposed to do. You know?
Yep, it's terrible because we're suppressing the life force. And again, that's where dis-ease comes from. When we're not at ease and we're going against our soul path to fit into this, society, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm totally, we need to let our children teach us and remind us who we are instead of us imposing society's restrictions upon these beautiful souls.
Yeah.
They know, they're closer to the source.
Oh, yeah.
Keep them undrugged. Keep them un-GMO'd. I mean, and I'm sorry, but feeding your children junk food, that's child abuse.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where they're and drugs and what the fuck?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and of course, you got...
really need to start taking responsibility. Mm-hmm. And look, I was a single mother. And when I finally realized what was going on in school, it just made sense. Pull them out and homeschool. Because, they'd get home from school and, hey, oh, babies, how was your day? What'd you learn today? Oh, I learned how Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. Oh, okay, honey. Well, let me tell you what really happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Things like that. And so, I just got tired of it. And then I realized the hypocrisy and the ridiculousness of paying other people to raise my own children.
Yeah.
And you have to have, obviously, more jobs and make more money and pay all these people. Well, if I'm sending them off to school and paying other people to raise my children, I can't be upset with the consequences.
Right.
Right? So it made sense to me, and that's when I left San Diego, and we went out to the Midwest and just trying to find, I thought, a safe small town where I could live off the land and homeschool my children and teach them reality. But I didn't know that teaching them reality really was against the law. So, yeah, homeschooling became felony educational neglect.
Oh, yeah. See?
Yeah.
And what's crazy...
charges were dropped 2 years later, but the damage was already done.
Oh, yeah. And see, whenever my lady friend pulled her girls out of school, they called, I guess it's called CPS everywhere else. It's called DFACS here. But, yeah, the school itself called DFACS, to investigate whether or not there was going to be educational neglect. Now, these girls, man, they read...
And not going to doctors and getting vaccines was felony medical neglect.
Yeah, and it's like, these girls read at a middle school level already, because I taught them how to read for the most part with Spider-Man comic books. You know what I'm saying?
Whatever it takes.
Or YouTube videos of songs they like with the subtitles. You know, like the music, hate the music, whatever. If it's a song like the littlest one, she loves that 21 Pilot song "Heathens." From the Suicide Squad movie. She sings that. She listened to that song one time and had it memorized at 4 years old.
Oh,
One
wow.
time. And can sing it verbatim, backwards and fucking forwards. And I go, okay, this one's auditory. She's an Aquarius. Okay, she's wanting to listen to this shit.
Yeah.
So what I do is when I say, okay, girls, it's in the morning I have a ritual and it's before coffee, before any of the bullshit of the day. You got to turn some music on first thing. Got to do it. That's just me, because that's gonna set the tone. You know what I'm saying? So I'll ask them whenever they stay over or whatever. Okay, music. What do you want to hear? And of course, the little ones always, I want to hear Heathens, right? So okay, clearly she's drawn to the song. Clearly, she's memorized the song. Let's see how I can incorporate these gifts of hers. Okay, I'll put the song up on the monitor with the words at the bottom, so subconsciously she's learning how to read.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
You have to. Yeah, that's perfect.
I mean, that's and then I have people who look at me and go, "Well, you wouldn't understand. You don't have kids."
Whatever.
I'm like, well, I don't have to have kids to realize that common sense. Why are you trying to force educate them something? Why are you trying to fit a square block in a round fucking hole? Why don't you teach them where they're at and teach them with things that they're naturally drawn to?
They're fearful that, everyone will look at them funny. They're fearful of less money. But when you really look at it, how much money are you actually making? If you reduced your bills and you weren't paying daycare or, something else, then you can stay home with your children. If I could do that as a disabled single mother, I'm sorry, you people out there making excuses, you don't have them.
Mm.
A single disabled mother alone, no alimony, child support, no government assistance, by the way. Okay, come on. If I can do it, especially two-parent households can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need $100 a month in cable TV. You don't need the latest phone. You don't need, there's so many ways that people can reduce their income or their expenses and take care of business responsibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the resources are all around.
They don't want to give things up, though. It's like, what really cracks me up, I mean, and it kind of ticked me off when I would go help other people and they had no money or they had a government check or whatever, and then they'd go buy $9, $10 packs of cigarettes. And, I grew my own tobacco, and okay, well, so maybe they can't grow their tobacco today, but they can next year. Or, I'd go and buy them a whole bag,
mm-hmm.
like a pound of, decent tobacco and papers and roll your own. And, they'd still go back to the cigarettes and then selling their medication so that they could have money for the cigarettes or the beer or this and that. And it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
Smoke, that's fine, but you can't afford a $10 a day habit, right? They're complaining that they can't eat, but it's priorities. You know what? My children were fed, even disabled in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So there's ways people can do it. They just don't want to give up their comforts, and they don't want to go the extra mile. Oh, I can't eat healthy. There's nothing around here. When I lived in Missouri, when I lived even in Florida, I drove an hour to get good food. Why? Because it's important to me.
Yeah.
I was responsible. I only had to go once a month, right? Or once every 2 months. Because, I'm not one of those people that think of how much money and time and everything you're wasting, these people that go and have to get toilet paper every day or every week or, one meal every day, just going to the store, doing those things. It's just... we need to be, self-sufficiency, self-responsibility is what solves all the problems that we have. Anything that anyone can complain about can be solved with self-responsibility.
Right. That's true.
It just seems so simple. The messes and the dishes and everything piled up. It's like, look, don't make a mess in the first place. Just put everything back where you got it, right? There's never anything to clean up. Rinse your dish immediately when you use it. You put it away. There's never anything to clean up. It's so simple.
Yeah. I don't want to get off on that because I'm obsessive compulsive about that, and Jesus Christ, I get so frustrated.
I'm just making silly examples, but life doesn't have to be as complicated as we make it.
No, not at all. I like Anthony Hopkins, and I know he does a lot of AA stuff, and in one of his talks, I always reference it because I think it's just good for anything. But he said that when he first went to Alcoholics Anonymous, looking for help and everything, he was frustrated with life in general. And this Jesuit priest saw him, that he was struggling with being there for help. And when Anthony Hopkins darted towards the back door to get out of there, the Jesuit priest jumped in front of him. Where do you think you're going? You look like you're in a bad way. And Anthony Hopkins said, I don't have time for this. Look, Father, tell me the most powerful and fastest prayer that you know. And the priest looked up for a second, and then he looked at Anthony Hopkins and he said, the fastest, most powerful prayer in the world is, fuck it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's the prayer of release. Just say fuck it,
That's awesome.
But I think a lot of Chuck Ocelli is a good friend of mine, and he came down from up north, and he came down here to Georgia, right?
Oh, okay.
And it's an experience because I really haven't traveled too much outside of the South.
Do you guys live together?
He stayed with me for a while, but he's got his own place now.
Oh,
but
cool.
yeah, he stayed with me for a while.
Oh, so you're neighbors.
Sorta. He's in the next town over. But
well, that's cool.
Yeah, he did crash with me for a few months and got to know my family, and we got to know each other as real people, not across a computer screen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, when I say he's a good guy, I know he's a good guy. It's not my perception. He's a good guy.
Well, I liked him as well the first time I heard his voice. So I was at Danny's house, and I felt that you guys were really real, and I was excited that Danny had real people on the network.
Oh yeah. I mean, Chuck is a little bit more. Let's see. Chuck's a little bit more professional about what he does, and when I say that, what I mean is I'm an open book, and maybe sometimes I'm such an open book that it makes people feel uncomfortable, and I'm okay with that. Now, Chuck is not that way. Chuck on the air is a little bit more guarded than me.
Yeah.
I have no problem talking about personal stuff. I mean, when I was a teenager, when I would write in my journals, because guys don't have diaries, that's, we have journals.
Okay.
But I would actually put like a title on the front, break it up into chapters, and pass it around at school for every fucking body to read and leave readers' comments in my journals. Okay? And some of the shit was scathing as fuck on some of these motherfuckers.
That's great.
But that's just the way I've always been, because I believe that a person with no secrets is a person with no weaknesses. You know what I mean?
I agree. I'm same, totally. I mean, I guess you weren't around when I was doing my shows, but we were very real, unlike any other. Yeah, that's another reason I appreciated you. Yeah.
So
there.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's when I did that show, that's what I was hoping was going to come across. And when I pitched it to Danny, I said, "Have you read the website?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, have you heard me on other shows? You kind of know where I'm coming from?" "Yeah." I said, "Well, basically what Zen in the Car Radio is going to be is that, but on your network. You want it or not." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're gonna, because I'm not. That's what I am. I am who I am. I'm an open book. I'm not trying to replicate any other talk show person. I don't even want nobody to think of me as an authority on anything. I'm not. I'm authority on myself, and that's the only person I could talk to and from, but so Because of all that, I got to know Chuck, and he is like, he would literally take the fucking shirt off of his back and give it to you, literally.
People do. It's unfortunate, but people do fear real people, and it's kind of, so I understand, you have to be a little more professional, and I guess I pretended to be a little bit later on, but I mean, I was still authentic, but I did the intro and outro and all that stuff that a good little radio host is supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and so, I don't know. Whenever, I was out there doing that, and I was like, okay, well, the people who are intended to hear what vibration I'm talking on are going to naturally gravitate towards me. And I got a lot of good fucking feedback from that. Okay?
Yeah.
I got a lot of good feedback. I had a guy a couple months ago that private messaged me and said, hey, I've been reading your stuff for years, and I've been listening to you for years, and I didn't know this guy from the man in the fucking moon. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And he goes, but I just wanted to let you know that, I've recently went through a divorce and a major life change, and your stuff has really, really edified me in some dark days, and I just wanted to thank you. And I'm not gonna fucking lie, I blubbered like a baby when I got that message, because I understand what a responsibility it is to. It's a responsibility to be somebody who can speak out to, I guess, the public, and then affect others' lives without ever having met them.
Yeah.
And so whenever you enter, and I know we keep getting back to the alternative radio thing, but maybe that's what's supposed to happen. So when you try to bring that into alternative media, quote unquote alternative media, and then alternative media is like, no, not here.
Yeah, not happening.
Yeah, we don't really need that here, so we magically can't carry your show anymore. Okay. And then you have to stop and think about what platform you really are going to do your work, your true work from, And,
so, how come you're not doing the show anymore?
All right, this is off-air stuff.
Okay.
This is what I know, okay? I know that I had been given the show, and I went 10 episodes, I think. Got a lot of great feedback. A lot of people were digging it. And then me and another host, Danny, said that he had to let us go because he couldn't afford. Yeah, he said he couldn't afford to run the soundboards on Saturdays, right? And the other host really didn't want to do a show anyway, and they were kind of arguing with Danny, and they were like, one, this is pretty fucked up, and two, Daniel has already said he can do his show any day of the week, because I did tell Danny that. I said, hey, look at
the other host.
It's a chick named Angela Foreman.
Oh yeah, I just barely found that out like a few weeks ago in the Ocelli forum.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That makes me like, what happened to Danny? Because he used to appreciate authenticity.
Yeah, well,
I'm really broken to find that out.
So he let me and her know. Now look, I'll take Danny at his word.
But didn't he get other people on the net? What do you mean afford? He does it all.
Yeah, I know that.
I know him personally for years and years and years. I've been to his studios everywhere. Even now, he's only an hour and a half away.
Yeah, it's like, and like I said, I'll take Danny at his word, but I do observe shit. And what I was told, hey man, sorry, you can't afford to pay for anybody to run the soundboards on Saturdays, so I got to let some people go. Okay, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then Angela messaged me, and come to find out hers was too. And so I messaged him back, and I was like, hey, look, Danny, I could do any day of the week. So if it's an issue with Saturdays, I can move to whatever day. Okay. And he just basically replied, sorry, can't afford it, whatever. And I was like, okay, well, there's something else going on, and if you don't feel like telling me, whatever. Somebody got pissed off at something I said. I don't know what to do. I don't know. That's just in assumption land, and I can't do any of that. I'm just going to take him at his fucking word. He can't afford to have me.
Sorry.
Huh?
I am so sorry.
It's okay. So the next thing I know is the very following Saturday, the Greek is on my time slot.
Oh, no way.
So, yeah. So evidently
we talked about the Greek. He was tired of him because he was pushing too much religious stuff.
Well, all I know is that, when my show got canceled, that stupid Greek and Seth, or Uncommon Sense, where the fuck it was, took that time slot. And I was like, well, Danny said he couldn't afford to pay anybody for Saturdays, and I know I ain't getting paid, so I ain't costing you a goddamn thing.
No, somebody had to pay him then. And that's just really sad to hear, because Danny has always been, my brother and the one person in alternative media that and I know that he lets people on the air, and and I respect that about him. I appreciate that he lets everybody speak, but he does allow people in just for numbers, even, so I don't know what happened. I'm really sad to hear that he actually fired like real authentic people. That's just weird. I've only known him to fire psychopaths like Sean David Morton and Chris Geo and Roxy Lopez, and he only, and what's her face, Project Camelot, and I've never ever seen him let go of a good person. So something happened. I am so sorry.
Hey, it is what it is. And like I said, it is what it is. I don't know what the real deal was, but I know that I was getting some really good fucking feedback for a Saturday night. I don't know if it was that or whatever it was, but it's cool either way, because it taught me, I didn't waste too much time believing there was hope in that shit. And so it's prompted me to do what I'm about to do, which is launch this podcast on my own fucking website and keep it as real as I wanted to keep it, and nobody can shut me down but me.
God, David. Wow. Or David. I am so sorry, Daniel. David. Danny, Daniel. Okay. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I didn't even know about Angela till about a month ago. I'm like, what the fuck? Or a month and a half ago or something.
Yeah. He got rid of both of us the same day, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
See, I was living in my car, so
yeah.
Obviously I wasn't, online and living in a tent. I got my phone and my computer sits in the car until I'm visiting a friend who has wireless,
Yeah.
So I didn't know any of that. I probably would have called him up right away if I would have known.
It's okay, though. I mean, it'll be all right. It's just, but there was, even on that network, because since this is probably going to get cut out anyway, because we've gone way past an hour and a half, so.
Oh yeah, well.
But it's cool. Yeah.
Uh-huh. It could be long, but obviously the personal stuff should.
Yeah.
Cut out.
But Vinny Eastwood, that guy, man, motherfucker, that guy. I don't know this guy personally. You know what I'm saying? I try to come off real. I'm not putting on an act. This is who I am. I know people say that shit, but I don't care.
Only those live it, pretty much. We're the realist.
But I don't understand the following there that people have with that guy.
Well, I'll tell you what. Again, he's been favored by the network. Why? Because he plays the game and the Alex Jones team, which also consists of George Norrie. And, Alex Jones isn't in charge. It's part of the ONI, by the way, the Office of Naval Intelligence. It's not the CIA and, all this other stuff people talk about, or FBI. It's the ONI, the one that nobody hears about. So, he plays the game, so he's allowed to be heard. Now, when these people show up and then they're all of a sudden, or, become these rock stars, they have a team of people that get paid by other people to go and promote them in the numbers and promote them in forums and this and that. And in fact, in extreme cases, like Chris Geo specifically, which again saw with my own eyes firsthand, he had 15 different accounts that I knew of, and they would say, they'd sign up in all the forums, David Icke, Alex Jones, whatever, and all these different names, and, hey, have you heard of this guy? He's so great, and look at this, blah, 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 right? And do that over and over and over and over. And so the people you're supposed to hear have that network behind them working for them because they're part of the perestroika, the agenda, the people that play the game. So it's most of whatever. I mean, I always beat him in numbers, by the way. So, because people do want real stuff. But yeah, since I've been gone and, the last couple years, 3 years, he's become, all Vinny all the time. And I mean, I don't know what it's like now. I don't listen anymore. There's nothing to listen to, Chuck.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. Something's going on, and when I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
But that's not normal. Like I said, Danny, all the decade I've known him, I've never seen him get rid of an honest person. So it's really disturbing that something has changed. And oh well, I do believe that the people that have been paying and helping Vinny, and I'm talking for years since the first time he came on the network, which I was his first show, by the way. Danny had me Danny, would always have me bring the new people on or whatever and kind of teach them or whatever. Yeah. But, yeah. Jack Blood and me, what's that jihad dude? Couple other people, I can't remember the name. We were the beginning of AFR.
Well, I don't know. But I'm glad I got a taste of that whole world. I'm glad that I got a taste pretty early on, so I don't have to repeat that shit.
Downloaded content podcast. Download content.